Hi guys, welcome to episode 1 of the Frontboards and Four Baggers podcast. I'm Eddie. I'm with Cornhole Bag Reviews, and I'm here with the man himself, the famous Corbin. If you want to introduce yourself.
I am Corbin with Corbin's Cornhole Reviews.
And so today we're going to be talking about the Gamechanger Steady 2.0, our opinions on that, as well as the normal Gamechanger and our opinions on that. And I think our opinions differ on both, which makes it an interesting first topic to talk about. So, and
Only
then
a little.
yeah, and then for our last topic, we'll just talk about the different fill types that we've seen in our reviews and kind of our opinions on them and the pros and cons of both. So, a couple stats on the Steady. I think you have a Steady on you. People that are watching the video, it's
Sure
a 4.6 speed. Again, same suede patch as the normal Gamechanger to slow down the material to the 4. I remember in your review you said it's the all slide slow side on both sides with the patch to slow it down a little bit more.
I believe so.
Yeah, I know with the bead type, similar to the Gamechanger, the asymmetrical bead. And then price point, like we said, it's a $115 for 8 of them on the website, or $60 to $70 on Facebook is kind of what we see. So,
Yep.
So I know you like this bag. What is your opinions on this bag?
Yeah, so, this bag, it's not my favorite bag. I'm not going to go out there and say I'm going to throw Steadies at every tournament.
Sure.
It becomes one of those backyard bags for me. So when friends are over or, family members that aren't phenomenal throwers, it doesn't bother me if it gets destroyed, but in the same token, it's a very controllable bag for them.
I agree.
So the patch does kick. It's just the way the patch
especially
is.
with the slower material too.
Exactly. The patch is going to kick. If you throw a bag on end like this, the patch is going to hit. It's going to do funny stuff. But being a 4.6, I think it's a really nice range, honestly. It's not a bad bag, and I've actually used it in blind draws when my partner said, hey, I like these Steadies. Have you thrown them? I'm like, let's do it. Like, not a problem. The fast side is very controllable, and the slow side does lay a hell of a block.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I don't know if I can. No. So it was the first bag that I grabbed. So I threw Gamechangers as my the normal Gamechangers. How I got into the hobby is I had my wife's cousins come to camping. They brought Gamechangers as the first bag that they got, and it was my first thing outside of a cornfield bag. But it was so fast, right? So then the only bag I knew about was a Gamechanger. So when I went to go buy my first set, I was like, oh, it's a Gamechanger but slower. Sweet, that's awesome. So I got it, and I was like, for me, man, it was a clog magnet. It was just especially not having a perfectly flat throw and not always being right up the middle, perfectly. When I was learning, I would just clog the crap out of the hole, in my opinion, with it. Yeah, and maybe the way I broke it in, it wasn't, it's my first bag, so maybe I didn't broke it in the best. I would say the speeds. The speed's super controllable. I agree. I think, and looking at it in that way is if you have someone who doesn't play a lot, maybe has a lower throw, they just kind of chuck it at the board. Really controllable. Probably less frustrating than having your board bag launch off the back every single time.
I would say so. I mean, I didn't notice any sort of clogging with them. And with these, I did condition them, and I'm not sure that I recommend that fully, just because my seams are kind of stretching a little bit now. I don't know.
Mine did the same. Yeah,
they're starting, and I mean that might just be Gamechangers. They stretch, whatever. It's not like beads are coming out, but
no. And those don't get as floppy, so you see the stretching.
Freaking floppy.
I don't know, man. My normal Gamechangers are really floppy.
Well, yeah, because they're cheater bags.
Okay, we'll get into that. But I mean, maybe, and again, it was my first bag, so I might just not have the best opinion on it. But I was just my style. Maybe because I throw a really fast bag, a little bit higher, so the slower bag was just rough for me. Yep. Yeah, it was real rough for me. But I would say the kicking was hard, and the normal Gamechanger, while it still can kick, I found that one just kicked more, and I think it's probably the slow material.
It's the slower speeds overall.
Yeah, it just really caught up on me.
But, I want to say it's the same patch. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe it's the same
patch on both bags.
Correct.
I don't have Gamechangers on me because how I feel like
yeah. But I would say if I was to compare it to a normal Gamechanger, the thing about the Gamechanger that I think makes the slow side more hole friendly is the square around the patch being that fast material. Even if you catch it on the edge, it kind of slides like the fast side anyway.
Absolutely.
Which obviously the Steady's 2.0. But on a positive note for the Steady 2.0, to your point, really controllable bag. Really accessible bag. Everyone's got them for a reasonable price and a high quality bag. I mean, it's not it comes from a good company and a lot of people seem to like them. I mean, I go to events and there's people throwing Steady, so obviously there's people out there that enjoy them. So, I mean, there is a player for everybody.
Hopefully not the original Steady, though.
The original Steady I saw at an event a couple days ago. It's a football. That thing is like a pillow, dude. It is insane.
Ridiculous.
I was like,
if you think a tango is fat, throw the original Steady.
I couldn't believe that it was like
things are gigantic.
Legal. I was like, there's no way that's 16 ounces, right? Like that thing's like this big.
Somehow, and they do the weirdest stuff. I've seen those go up on end and just slide kick. I mean, they're gross. Yeah. They at least did a huge improvement on the 2.0.
Agree.
They did their research, they found their market, they listened to their audience. So that's why I kind of like them a little more, because they actually did something totally different and made them a quality bag. They listened to what the people said about them.
Sure, and I would say, I mean, like, to your point, from a Steady to a Steady 2.0, massive improvement. Like massive improvement. So like you can tell you can tell they actually listened to some sort of feedback or like, did something on that at all. So all right, let's move on to the best bag ever. The normal Gamechangers. So a couple facts on it. So it is a 610 speed. I know is what they listed as. Again, same thing as the Steady, same material on both sides, that 10 speed with the 6 as the patch to slow it down with that suede patch. Asymmetrical bead, which is the same price, $115 for 8, and you can find them for $60-$70 new on Facebook, like we were saying. So my opinion is I love them and they're the best. No, they are a cheater bag. They're super hole friendly. If you have any kind of a high throw, I mean, they get near the hole and they just go in the hole, like unfairly go in the hole. Like you miss behind the hole, it rolls back in the hole after you hit the board a couple times. I won a blind draw last week where it was pouring rain. My bags were completely soaked beyond belief. They were still sliding off the back of the board and everybody else's bags were glue. So, I mean, just this polyester material just doesn't really care about like anything about conditions, or it's the same thing all the time. I know a lot of people don't like the patch. I personally think the patch feels fine in my hand. I'm used to it. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it at this point, I think. Maybe mine's kind of dirty and broken in, so it's not as sticky, like in terms of like it's kind of got more residue on it. And I think I just throw it a lot. But leading into your idea on it, I want to say that in his 2.0 review, he did say, "You guys know how I feel about Gamechangers. I can't stand them. I'll never throw them. And I'll never like them." And then he said, I feel like every time I grip this, it's like throwing a couch pillow. I don't know how they're ACL certified. So with that,
yeah. All right, so I did bring a Gamechanger.
Yeah, there it is. Big fluffy Gamechanger.
Dude, they're just like, and I know that. The Steady's not that much different, right? But to me, the Steady feels smaller. It's like regular Gamechangers. I was throwing against them actually this past Saturday when I played a tournament. They're cheater bags, right? We all say it. We all know it.
But aren't Vipers cheater bags?
Oh, absolutely. But anything that beats me is a cheater
bag. Yeah, there
right?
you go. There, the truth comes out.
There's the honesty. But the stuff they were doing, and I said this to the girl I was playing against, because we were throwing partners. He was throwing bags and he would throw them super hard and they'd hit the back of the board, like the back of the hole. Any other bag would have just flopped off. He had a little corner that was in and it hit and just rolled back and fell in. And I'm like, if that wasn't a Gamechanger, that's off the board. And she smiled at me. She goes, I know.
I know.
It's like, it just does little stuff like that. They're incredibly hole friendly. I will say that. They're a good bag if you can control them. Mm-hmm. I don't have the loftiest throw. A 610, not going to be for me. Yep. I like to throw a 5.8 range. Mm-hmm. That's typically where I stay. They're just, I don't know, they're hard to throw. And if you watch my review on them, I throw them well.
Well, because if you hit the hole, they're going to go in. Any bag that you throw right down the middle will go in. So, for you...
Well, of course. But, it's like... I did throw them well, but I've thrown them in tournaments where I could hardly hit the board with them. And if I was just off a little bit left or right, they were just launching. I had no choice. So it's not a personal favorite of mine, obviously. I will throw them. If it's a blind draw and the partner says, hey, I only throw Gamechangers, I'll say, cool, let's throw them. I'll try to figure it out. But just not my favorite bag. There's something about them, and they're so huge.
I would say like as I've thrown more and more and more bags and changed my throw a little bit, got a little more consistent. I like kind of am getting towards you where like I like the 5.8, the 4.8 kind of bag where like and now that I'm accurate enough to throw blocks and pushes more often and stuff where it's not like I need to make it in this hole otherwise I'm not going to make it kind of thing. You know, I go off and now these are kind of my like blind draw. I don't care if they get dirty. Like late humidity. I get crazy humidity here. It gets like 75% humidity when the sun goes down and we're playing blind draw. Sure. And at that point, it's like you need something that goes, and this is the one that still goes for me. So I will break it out for that. But I mean, to your point, I'm starting to gravitate more towards the slower bags just as I'm learning my throw and getting it a little bit lower. So I use them a lot less, but I think there is a place for them for me, and I think I still use them.
There's a place for them.
Yeah.
I will never deny that. I mean, they are a good bag. Mm-hmm. They've done something correct. You know, all Cornhole crushed it with that because obviously pros still use them.
And use them well. You know,
recreational players use them. You know, competitive players use them. A whole slew of different people use them. They are a good bag that a whole lot of people can use. You could hand them to a beginner and say, hey, throw these, and it probably won't punish them too bad if they're hitting the board. Mm-hmm. They're a very usable bag, 100%. It's just not my cup of tea.
No, I agree. You know? And I mean, I would say I think the most interesting part about Gamechangers to me is the of any bag that exists, it is the most polarizingly split ideals of a bag. You either love the Gamechanger or you hate anyone who even looks at a Gamechanger. Like it's like there isn't people that are like, I'm okay. It's like why do you throw those? They suck, or like why don't you throw them? They're the greatest bag ever made.
Okay, but if you walk up to a board, say you're playing doubles, right? You walk up to a board and you see two old dudes with Gamechangers.
They're gonna crush you.
What's going through your head?
Oh, they're gonna crush you. you're like this is Frank Modlin, dude. He's got it right down the middle every time.
Every time, two old guys Gamechangers, and you're like.
you're like they're just gonna loft it up with no spin. It's gonna just whack the board and go right in every time.
Oh, it's gonna be flying through the air like this.
Somehow ride perfectly straight on the edge, right to the hole.
Slide a little bit and then fall in. Yeah. You might as well bring out your slide rights because you need to stop something there.
We're not going there in this video. Okay, Gamechangers only. I don't want to talk about slide rights.
Yeah, I'm just saying you need a good blocker.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our discussion topic today is types of fills, and this is a interesting topic for me because I think. The more I've reviewed bags and tried bags and talked to people about bags, I think there's underwhelming is maybe the wrong way to put it, but people don't put enough emphasis on how important the beads are and the fill is. I mean, like the 100%. Fill, the way that it feels in your hand, the way that it makes the bag shaped, puffier or thinner, and the way it falls in the hole is really dependent on that fill. And the more bags I've thrown, I'm like, wow, I really don't like the way this feels just because I can feel the beads or just because it's like gripping weird, And so I don't think a lot of people, they see the brands and stuff, they see the Vikings and they see these other bags and they don't realize that it might not be the kind of fill they would go for, right? So I think we talked, the three main types of beads that we see are like a lightweight bead, kind of like, which gives you the puffy bags, like a BG, a Razor, a DNA from Dragon. We got the heavier asymmetrical bead, like the Gamechanger, Kill Shots, Minnesota Tailgate play them, and then a disc fill. There is like the bigger disc fill and the smaller disc fill, but the concept's kind of the same. Cats have them, Costello, Surefires, Prodigy. A lot of the new bags coming out are starting to, I know the Typhoons are coming out with it now. A lot of people are trying this new fill. But let's start with the puffy bag, right? The lightweight bag. You get BGs, your Vikings. What do you think is the positive and negative of a puffy bag?
Personally, I'm starting to like them.
Okay.
I used to hate them, and I know we're going to have different opinions on this too, which is going to be fun. I used to hate that fill. If I grabbed a bag and I'm like, whoa, that's just thick, that's nasty. No, now I understand why. The things you can do with it. Yeah. Because, a lot of those bags are going to be carpet. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that?
Agreed, yep.
So a lot of that fill is going to be utilized with a carpet bag. And if you have that fill, it allows you to bounce, it allows you to cut, flop, do all that stuff because of the bat, because of the fill, actually. Mm-hmm. I've used carpet bags. So I just did the Chaos review, right? Chaos kind of have that asymmetrical disc in them. They don't flop.
Yep.
It's still a good carpet, but they're not a flopping carpet.
Agreed. Yeah,
So I think that fill has a place for certain types of shooters.
And I would say like the bags that I've thrown, the razors, the black flags, like that don't use a carpet and use that fill, it also kind of feels weird. It's like not a good combo where it's like because you're not getting the same reason that you said the disc on the set with the carpet is kind of weird because it's like you're kind of losing a lot of the point of the fill or the material in terms of that cut and flop shot just because of the fill combo. Yeah, and I said like in my opinion those bags though bigger in hand, so if you have smaller hands you don't like a big bag, that's what it's gonna feel like, and you got to kind of have a flatter bag. In my opinion, they're more tend to slide on you.
Oh, they'll do funny stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not throwing it flat. But that's kind of the purpose, though, is if they're not going flat, they're going to go a direction you're trying to get them to go. So, like,
it's intentional to do funny stuff.
So if you don't like kicking bags, I wouldn't throw a big carpet puffy bag because they're meant to cut and they're meant to slide in that direction and do those kind of things.
Absolutely agree. Yep.
Let's look at the heavy asymmetrical beads. So in my opinion, it's probably the most common fill I see, at least in not the new bags coming out, but in the bags we've seen the last couple of years. It was the most common one I've seen. Not the super small one, but like the Game Changer type fill. Gamechangers, Kill Shots. A lot of the company, Reynolds, they all use this fill. I do think it leads to a thinner bag because it is heavier, and they're pretty hole friendly. They're more hole friendly than the little one, or than the lighter bag. I would say you can feel the beads, which we'll get into with disc. I think is the biggest thing I like the most about disc. But with I'm holding this Game Changer right now, you can feel the beads in there, but it's better than like a BB because they kind of clump together a little bit where like that little asymmetrical shape pins together a little bit, that it's not like you're holding like a bean bag with like BBs in it. So it is better than like a BB, but is less than a disc in my opinion, but still very hole friendly. And they tend to be, like you were saying, more for like a block push. Like they're not the heavy bags, not for the flopping and cutting as much as the bigger bags.
Not as much. On that point though, I mean the heavier asymmetric fill, if they're I assume they're using some type of a blend, with the asymmetric stuff. If there's more round beads to that fill, that's going to lend to being more hole friendly. It's also going to lead to feeling like crap in your hand.
100%. Material, and we'll talk about this in a future podcast, but material makes a huge deal there too. Because like Reynolds Freedoms for me, the material is so thin and the beads are so circular that I felt like I feel like I'm holding like a plastic bag full of BBs. I hated how it felt in my hand.
Right there with you. Funny enough, Kill Shot Slayers for me. Now I love the bags. Kill Shot Slayers are phenomenal bags. They're one of the most hole friendly 6/8s I've ever thrown, but they have more of a circular fill. They're so incredibly hole friendly because of it. But when you're holding them, if you're a hand fill kind of guy, you're gonna hate them. That's just the way it is. It's because you can feel them. You can whatever. I'm just like a 50%er. I flip a couple times.
Same.
I grab.
Same
I throw. I don't grab real hard. I don't really butterfly unless I'm flopping. So I don't really feel all the beads all the time. But if you're one of those guys that's like really like flopping it around, getting your fingers like, you're going to hate that bag.
I would say even though I don't grip super tight, when I can feel the beads, it's almost like it adds another thought to my head, like subconsciously when I'm about to throw. Like it's like because the game's all about repetition. Do the same thing every single time,
of course,
unless you're obviously deviating a little bit. But if I have it in my hand and one of the thoughts that goes through my head was, oh, I can feel the beads. To me, I'm like that instantly took me out of this repetition zone. Yeah, it's like subconsciously, like I'm not the same as I would be if I couldn't notice they were there. Which I think is, like I would say the perfectly circle BBs is not a common fill for that reason. Like you said, it's hole friendly, but it doesn't feel good. Like I don't think it's comfortable in the hand. But the asymmetrical bead, at least in pass bags, I think is the most common. But now we'll go to the disc fill, which I think a lot of brands are moving to, and a lot of the big brands that people really like are using it. And there's a reason why they're using it, and there's a reason why people are starting to get into it. And examples for the disc fill, it feels like a small like dime almost, but like really, really tiny, like a small like disc. And there's really small ones like the Surefires and I threw Cats today. They have really small ones. And then but then Costellos and Prodigies have kind of like a bigger disc where you can feel the disc a little bit more, but not in a bad way. But it's with the Surefires, I kind of had to press to, is that a disc or is that like a small, because it's a little bit smaller. But in my opinion, most hole friendly from the bags that I've thrown. I just think the way that like I don't know if the beads fall over each other inside there because they're flat or something, but I just feel like they fall in easier in my opinion. And I think it feels the best in my hand. I think I can tell that I'm holding beads the least. Like I think it turns into a handle the best for me.
I can't deny the hand feel. I mean, they feel the best out of any bag. You hand somebody that bag and say, "Feel this," they go, "Whoa, that feels nice."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just it does have a phenomenal hand feel. As far as friendliness, I think that's partially lending to the materials used with that type of fill.
Sure.
You know, because I mean, call Surefires. You know, they have that fill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Surefires hang up on the slow side all the time.
I just said that in my review today, actually. Which I was very surprised, actually, because I was very surprised.
Them on Saturday. I mean, it's just if it gets a little sticky out. I mean, that slow side is a great material. It is phenomenal for a lot of different throwers and a lot of different conditions. But if it gets a little bit sticky, that slow side goes nowhere. It's like butters. It's like the butter slow side. It's not going anywhere if it has any humidity. So even though the fill is friendly, I mean, it depends on the materials used. But
that is true.
You know, get yourself Cat 2s, P90s, Costellos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're jumping into that category. Cat 3s. I mean, you know, Young Guns Hooligans. I don't know if you've thrown those. I need to send you a set actually. They all use that fill, but they all have different speeds. But I mean, they are all fairly hole friendly.
And I would say, I mean, going back to that subconscious thing I was saying about the reason I don't like the other beads. Honestly, maybe the reason that I even say it's the most hole friendly is because in my hand it's like the most comfortable. Where it's like I'm literally not thinking about it. I'm just throwing because I'm just like I'm like you're not. I'm never worried about getting a good grip on the bag. I just like grab it and it's a good grip. It's like it didn't matter if I was slightly inside, slightly outside, slightly had more. It just turns out really nice in my hand and it's really consistent for me.
Well, and that's hugely important for your consistency. If you don't have to think about your grip, that's one less thing to think about. Like you're saying, like, oh, I thought about beads, so now I have to adjust my grip. I might have to change what I was doing. Now I'm out of my rhythm. Now I'm going to miss my shot.
Yeah, agreed.
If you're not thinking about that, you're just flipping around. You're like, this bag just feels good anyway. Grab it, throw it. You're comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think and that goes back to I think fill and material both play a very equal role in the in the bag process. But I think people talk about the materials all the time. They talk about like how how it feels, how fast it is. They talk about the speeds or like comparison of the different like polyester versus something. But I think the fills are just more under talked about in terms of like people. I don't think like I was talking to some people about how I feel the fills and do stuff, and they didn't even realize that the fills were different. They just thought it was, just, everyone fills them up with something and they use different materials. And so I think, and I wouldn't be surprised as this game keeps getting bigger and bigger if we don't see more and more different fills, more different shapes, more people trying different things to see if it's, does different things. I mean, there's probably shots that exist that we don't even know about yet. I mean, the roll bag's kind of this new thing in the last couple of years. So who knows what like new fills will bring. But, I would say that there are newer companies trying out that disc fill, and I'm sure they're doing way more testing than we do, and they probably are finding something about it. Maybe it is the hand feel, maybe it is the mental or something, but they're finding a reason to keep doing it. Or they're copying the big guys because they want the bags to feel the same. Yeah, because it works. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's everything. Talk about fills. I mean, I think the Gamechangers, in closing, I mean, I think the Steadies, it's a good bag if you're just starting out. It's affordable. Feels good in the hand. It's high quality, and it's not overly fast. I think the normal Gamechangers, I agree with you. It's a cheater bag. I'm on the pro side of the cheater bag in terms of I like it. Right. But I mean, you do have to get used to the patch. I enjoy it. I think again, it's also a good beginner friendly bag as like the next step to enjoy controlling it. Because I would say, in my opinion, if you can control a Gamechanger, you can control almost any bag, like any fast bag. So, like, if you can get there and then you can kind of find... That's where I'm at now, where I said I'm getting back in that sweet spot of the 5.8. It's like, starting there, I can kind of wean it off a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, now it doesn't launch off the back every single time. It's like, I can kind of do this game, And fills. I mean, fills are, people need to talk about them more or, like, figure out what they like more. And I think that's a big key in finding the bag that fits your hand the best. And I think the mental thing is big as well. And making sure that every time you grab the bag, it feels the same, which I think lends a lot to the fill, in my opinion. But
absolutely, it'll give you consistency. I mean, it's like we're saying, if you're comfortable with the bag, you're just going to throw it better.
So the Game Changers, I'll link the links to Corbin did a review of both the 2.0s and the normal Game Changers. I have a review of the normal Game Changers. All the links to those will be down in the description. And check out Corbin's channel at Corbin Cornhole Reviews and my channel at Cornhole Bag Reviews. Appreciate you hopping out. And next episode we should be looking at materials, and we'll pick at a couple other bags to talk about. And but
that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, appreciate you guys stopping by, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.